What's up, you guys? Ross Sapp here, March 8th edition of the Fightful Wrestling Podcast. I am here with Jimmy Van. What's up, Jimmy Van?
How you doing, Mr. Ross Sapp? I guess we can tell everybody that we're taping this a day early this week because I have to do businessy shit on Wednesday during our regular show. But
nobody's here this week. What's going on? Am I the only person has to work more than a day a week here? What's going on, Jimmy?
I guess you're clearly the least important of all of us. I mean, that's the one thing you could get out of it because Joe's away. Elias had to change it up. Matt had to change it up. Didn't Helms have to change it up?
Well, I had to change up Helms for Riddle, but Helms, we didn't do a show last week because we couldn't do it.
Right.
Robin Black's still in Vegas or wherever the hell he's at. Yeah. So it looks like Elias may not be able to do a show, and by this time we'll know because he's in LA. He's doing Fighter and the Kid, which will be some nice publicity. But
that's cool.
One of my favorite podcasts actually to listen to. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts outs. Well, I guess I do. Now that I think about it, I guess I do that whenever I'm not working because I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, there's 3 or 4 I listen to. Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't listen to a lot of wrestling podcasts.
When is Elias doing Fighter and the Kid?
Yeah, which is Brian Callen and Brendan.
Yeah,
Shaw.
no, I know when. When is he doing it?
Today.
I got to text
Tuesday.
him. I got to text him because he's definitely got to plug us on that. I actually hit him up and I said, if I send you a Fightful t-shirt, will you take a nice little pic of yourself in it, let us model it? And he's like, absolutely. Elias is a really good dude, as you know.
Boy, that's some cheap advertisement because, well, see, here's the thing. Right now, you all have me up there. So, I mean, I don't know if you even want Elias in a Fightful tee. Is it worth it?
Clearly he's going to suffer by comparison. Clearly that's going to happen. But
it's tough.
But we'll do what we can.
The Head and Shoulders World Order.
That's what you should actually do. You should get another shampoo sponsor, and then you guys can kind of, that would be amazing.
I'm growing it out a little bit, guys. I'm growing it out a little bit.
I will give you cash money if you get it to Elias's level. Like, we'll work out a deal if you'll do that.
I might do that. I might. So, Elias is also filming something today. I think maybe a movie. Maybe.
Okay. That's good.
Hell, I don't know.
So basically everybody from our podcast is getting movie roles now, all of a sudden. Yeah.
And I mean, Jeff got booked for an improv thing, or maybe it was a stand-up thing. Can't remember what it was, but he was there last weekend. Hey, Jimmy, I had an independent wrestling promoter contact me this weekend. Might be doing a booking in May or June.
To wrestle?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I might. My baby's due around then. Otherwise, I would so come for that. I would.
Well, it is. Let me tell you, it would not be worth the trip. My match might be okay. I'm not going to say that I'm like a terrible wrestler or anything. I'm not a terrible wrestler.
What's your style?
Well, okay. Now, here's the thing. In comparison to Matt Riddle, I am no tough guy. But around here, people know me as a guy who trains MMA, manages a fight team. And I usually team with my catch wrestling coach. And he is a legit badass. He goes and trains with Josh Barnett. We've trained with Billy Robinson. So we run the fight team gimmick. And we really lay it on. It's fun stuff. It's fun stuff.
Well,
but yeah, lots of booking for Fightful people. Except for Matt Riddle. He can't get booked anywhere.
Yeah, no. He's a bum. Nobody wants him.
Got a nice little project coming for him soon that you all will see. Of course, don't tell him anything about it, but he ain't going to watch this show. He's in England right now wrestling for Progress. Defending that title, I think.
Yeah, I saw him on Twitter posting a few things. Yeah. Good for him. Yeah, it's been an interesting time, and we've been hit up by a blog network, a radio network that wants to potentially work with us. You got Access TV hitting you up, wanting you to interview Jim Ross. As you know, I talked to a WWE Hall of Famer yesterday. Not going to name names yet, in case things don't happen, but it's an interesting time for us, man.
It's Coco Beware.
Yeah, that's it.
It's definitely Coco.
I told him we'll do a deal, but only if you got the bird, man. Only if you got the bird.
So, do you got a list this week? Oh boy,
I got a list.
I bet you yelled at Nigel and you said, "Why isn't this on card stock?"
Because that's what I always do. Yeah, that's my personality. So the first thing on this list I have to ask you. So I try my best to listen to your other podcasts when I can. And most of the time I don't catch them live, but I do catch them at some point. And on one of the podcasts this week, you said you've never seen Star Wars. And my question for you is, did you mean you haven't seen the latest one, or you haven't seen any Star Wars?
I have seen, I can't remember which one it was, but when they remastered them in the mid-90s, I went with my cousin and watched one of them. Otherwise, I watched half of the one that came out in like 2000 or 99 or whatever it was. Other than that, I've never watched anything Star Wars, played a Star Wars game. I had a couple of Star Wars toys and trading cards. That's it.
I don't understand how that's possible. See, okay, so I am not a alien space kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard that Star Trek fans, they call them Trekkies, they're off on a whole other level, right? Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't like any of it.
Well, no, but they're different. Star Trek is just a very out there. Those fans are very passionate in their own way. Star Wars is more of a general, it's for the Trekkie types. It's also for just general audience viewing. How have you never seen all of Star Wars? It's shocking to me that you've never seen it.
And I won't demean all the people that watch it like I will about Pulp Fiction, but it's just never interested me.
Now, tell me that you've seen the Rocky franchise.
Yes.
Okay, you have seen the Rocky franchise.
And because of that, I don't need to ever watch a boxing movie again.
Okay, because I was going to question your masculinity if you had not seen the Rocky franchise. So at least you've seen that. But Star Wars it's pretty good.
I've not seen Creed. I want to watch that soon, though. I may make an exception for that. Everybody says it's good, but I mean, to me, I've watched so many boxing movies; they're all the same.
Right.
I've never watched Star Wars. I'm not a big space guy. Like, I watched Interstellar and Gravity, and now I don't ever want to watch another space movie ever again. Like,
but those are different. Star Wars is more telling a story, and those other ones are shit.
Sure, I don't care. I don't like them.
What about like The Godfather? Have you seen The Godfather?
Yes.
Okay. So there is some human.
It's been a long time. There are a host of movies that I need to make time to rewatch when I can appreciate them. Okay. Because when I was 18 or 19 and I sat down and watched these, I watched a lot of them on TV, and you do not. That is not the movie.
Yeah, different. Yeah,
it's not the movie, and
Okay.
Let me interrupt your list really quick.
Yeah,
because this just came across my timeline. Marty Jannetty's Facebook post says, "To all my ninjas, I want your all's advice. I just got a call. $150,000 for 3 movies. ... Porno movies."
Is he for real? That's legitimate?
He says, "Can't say the name. They're a big company. I'm thinking my bruh Snoop had something to do with this. Check this, though. I'd get to tear up some beautiful bitches. But as my brother said, my family could see that.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, why is my family watching porno then going to judge me?"
Mm-hmm.
What do you all think on that? That's a good point.
He's got to be in his, mid-50s by now, right?
Yes, he is.
And does he do? I remember seeing an independent match years ago, and his ankle was all messed up, and he was almost walking sideways on that ankle.
He doesn't have an ankle.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It like barely exists.
Yeah. You know what? Normally, I would say that's a really poor career decision. In the case of Marty Jannetty, I think I'd probably lean towards why not? What else do you got going on? I mean, you want the guy to make a living.
They don't trust him enough to put him in the Hall of Fame right now. Otherwise, he would have probably been there because he is still as wild as ever from what I can surmise. Yeah, that was interesting to see come across the timeline. That is an assignment that's going straight to Alex right now.
You should have Alex research the porn industry so that he can have a proper knowledge of what he's covering.
Yeah, I probably should. That's a good call.
Someone tells me Alice is not going to like that assignment. Just call it a hunch.
What's next on your list?
All right, I want to talk about the Seth Rollins stalking conversation that you guys had. I think it was on the Sunday night podcast that you guys talked about it. I completely agree that fans take it to a whole other level, and stalking you out at the airport at 3 a.m. is questionable. I remember CM Punk one time in an interview said that he went out to take out the garbage, and there was a couple of fans out back at his house. Obviously, that is crossing the line. But I do disagree with you on one point. You said on one of the podcasts, you said Seth Rollins is only obligated to WWE. He is not obligated to his fans. I completely disagree with that.
Why is that?
So I'm going to tell you a quick little story that kind of ties into this. Years ago, if you could try to envision this in your brain, I actually had dinner with the Bushwhackers and Justin Roberts, the former Raw ring announcer. And the Bushwhackers are a very recognizable tag team, as you know. And they were interrupted many times over our dinner. Like, guys would come up and ask for an autograph for a picture. And every single time, they very politely, and it was Butch that did all the talking, because, you know, Butch was the talker. And yes, Butch kept on saying very politely, you know, look, let us just kind of finish our meal. And then when we're all done, then I'd be happy to talk to you. And there was not one fan that was rude and whatever. Everybody was very polite, and they said, appreciate it. And then that's what they did. The Bushwhackers understood that it's because of the fans that they're able to do what they do for a living. Now, I know when you do your character with the glasses and you joke around about these fans that say, I pay for your house and all that, and that is nonsense. But if people do not subscribe to the network, if they do not watch Raw that allows WWE to get the rights fees they get, if they do not go to the live events, if they do not buy the merchandise, Seth Rollins does not have a job. And that's a fact. And so he is obligated to his fans, but I think that a line should be drawn. So do I think it's cool for fans to show up at 3 a.m? And sometimes you hear stories about how they'll have a stack of 8x10s because you know they're going to sell them, right? Mm-hmm. Do I agree with that? No. But if it's the middle of the day and someone just wants a quick autograph and you think you're too cool for school and you blow them off, I think you need to realize where your paycheck is coming from. So I don't agree that they're only obligated to WWE. They are obligated to their fans, but a line should be drawn. And that's my opinion.
They can be. They don't have a contract signed with the fans. And the WWE doesn't even seem obligated to their fans. They edited out Roman sucks chants from a YouTube video. So are they even obligated to the fans? I mean, sure. But yeah, it's the I buy your house thing. Now, here's the thing. If somebody were to say that to me, yeah, you kind of do. We're content creators. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like, if somebody comes at me on, we had this talk yesterday. You said, don't respond to negative criticism.
Yep.
But sometimes, Jimmy, these no chin having errand boys, they got to get it.
You're feeding the hate.
They got to be told.
No, you're feeding the hate when you do that. I mean, obviously, again, and I told you this, lines have to be drawn. I told you yesterday, don't even delete the hateful comments. Let them sit there. Obviously, coarse language and any kind of reference to sexual acts, that stuff has to go. But otherwise, if they just say, hey, Sean, I think that you have an ugly face and I don't like your haircut. And
they have never said that. Nobody has, for the record, nobody has ever called me ugly.
Well, that's because you're an amazingly beautiful human being. But
that's true.
Okay, so I'll turn the table.
Here's my advice to you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
That's what you should do.
Embrace the hate.
Embrace the hate.
Embrace the hate. For a split second, I thought you were going to put the Ya Boy t-shirt back on there again because you've been finding a way to do that in every podcast.
Yeah, I have. ProWrestlingTees.com/Sean Ross Sapp. When are we getting the Fightful store up?
So get this. So we've been approved, and the wait time is 1 to 2 weeks because they apparently just have like 2 guys that are in a room, doing it manually. So 1 to 2 weeks.
They're a big operation, too. They sell a ton of T-shirts.
Well, apparently they're understaffed, so we got to wait. But anyway, that was the first point I wanted to make, was about my opinion on this whole Rollins fan thing. Let's go on to the next thing. I want to talk to you about the handling of Bayley for a second.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a little bit dumbfounded about this one. And I realize that people like to shit on WWE sometimes, and sometimes people like to make like, oh, they screw up everything. But here's why I'm dumbfounded about this. It's one thing to take a talent from the outside, like a Kevin Owens or like a Chris Jericho when he first started or whoever. It's one thing to take someone from the outside that doesn't have any ties to WWE and screw things with them creatively. That's one thing. With Bayley, when she got to the main roster, she was already set. Like they had already built her. And Triple H is involved to a degree with both. He's involved with NXT and with WWE. I cannot fathom how they're screwing up her run. It doesn't make any sense to me that you take a talent that you built yourself, bring her up to the main roster, and completely screw it up. They've had her, and actually wrote all this stuff down, they had her get squashed by Nia Jax. She beat Charlotte twice because both times she had help outside interference. Then they had her in the ring talking like she feels bad that she didn't win cleanly, but that's okay. She's going to keep the title anyway. Now they had Sasha Banks beat her on Raw on Monday night. I can't fathom what they're doing with this girl should be the female equivalent of John Cena. That's who this should be.
If you want to give the Roman Reigns push to somebody,
right,
it should be this girl. Like, this is the girl you want to appeal. Like, and if you heard me, there was a guy at the corner store. Checks me out, the clerk, whatever. He's like, what are they doing with Bayley? And I was like, you see it too, right? And he was like, man, my little sister loves Bayley.
Right. How is there such a disconnect between her NXT run when she was handled very well? I mean, that's where she was built. How is there such a disconnect between her NXT run and her WWE run? I just don't. It's unfathomable to me. And again, I realize NXT has its own set of writers. WWE has its own set of writers. Vince McMahon doesn't understand really much of anything, but Hunter is there. He's there. Yeah. He was there within NXT. He's there in WWE. It is unfathomable to me that she's being mishandled like this. And seeing her lose to Sasha on Raw, seeing her acting all, I didn't win fairly, but she's going to hold on to the belt anyway. Man, are they ever dropping the ball with Bayley? I just don't get it.
This is a real chance for them to have a breakout star to attack a demographic that they have never. I can't think of one person that has really attacked that demographic without that person later being like overly sexualized or something like that. Because maybe AJ Lee to a degree, because she would skip around and hop around, but then she was making out with everybody on the roster. They booked her that way. I think they have the opportunity to have something really special. I'll say this. I wrote a column the other day about how WWE ended a ton of streaks the other night. Like they just ended, it was weird. And one of the things I put was that I didn't think that the era of unpredictability had really been capitalized on after Goldberg beat Lesnar. Bam, just like that. The only place I think it has is the women's division. A lot of people are upset because the title gets hot potatoed. I love it. I love that the title's getting hot potatoed because everybody loves to draw comparisons to the Attitude Era. Every damn title was hot potatoed back then. Every single one of them. I mean, they literally made a running joke of it that it was hot potatoed at Chuck E. Cheese, at the airport, with the hardcore title. So, I mean, I like the unpredictability there. I really enjoyed that. I don't think they should have ended Charlotte's streak. I think that could have been a WrestleMania thing. And you always hear people say, well, they need to save it for this, save it for this. They don't have to save everything, but they didn't save anything in this women's division. Not Sasha's win, not Bayley's win, not Charlotte's streak, not Nia Jax getting beat.
Right.
And I think that maybe has helped my interest in the women's division because it's not obvious anymore. And I like that. I like not being obvious.
I mean, when you look at the UFC, since the UFC is legitimate competition, guys going on long win streaks and defending their title successfully is rare. And that's real life. And that's why guys like Anderson Silva reach legendary status when they defend their title successfully 8 or 9 times. So I agree with you. I don't mind that somebody wins the title and then quickly loses it. I have no problem with that. But again, it's just dumbfounding to me that they, within the company, build up a talent, and then when she's passed off to another creative team, they just completely screw it up. I don't know. It's just kind of mind-boggling to me, you know. And on a side note, I got to say, Sasha's roll up with the bridge on Nia Jax, I love that. How the hell did she? That was great. I love that.
Yeah. I criticized that a bit the other day because I said her weight wasn't down enough. I looked back at it. It was a beautiful bridge.
I thought it was great.
I was incorrect. Well, I mean, a lot of people were like, how could she roll up somebody like that? And I'm like, all right, have somebody more experienced than you, even if they weigh less, bridge you like that.
Right.
And I was absolutely incorrect. I went back and watched that. I must have caught it out of the corner of my eye because it was a fantastic bridge from Sasha Banks. So I would like to apologize.
Yeah, I thought it was
Sasha
good.
Banks for that.
So next up, I want to talk about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson for a minute.
Yeah.
And again, this is MMA related, but I'm going to tie it into WWE because that's what I like to do. So for wrestling fans who aren't familiar with who that is, he is a UFC fighter. He fights in the 170-pound division. And he most recently has had 2 title matches where he was the challenger against the champion, a guy by the name of Tyron Woodley. The first fight that they had ended in a majority draw. And for the most part, they spent 5 rounds just kind of circling each other and not really doing much because they were both very hesitant and they were afraid the other guy was going to counter. And, so it was 5 rounds of mostly reluctance with the exception of a few flurries here and there. The rematch was last weekend, and it was even worse than the first time out.
I've loved the first fight. The first fight was fantastic.
It had its moments, but there was a lot of reluctance, especially on Wonderboy's part, where he was just standing on the outside throwing shots because he was afraid of getting countered. But this fight last weekend was I thought brutal.
One of the worst title fights in UFC
horrible
history.
And the reason I want to talk about this is because we have learned in both WWE and in UFC, talent is told over and over again, you make the most of an opportunity. They're always told that. And Wonderboy Thompson to me is an example of what not to do in that situation, because I guarantee you, if he had have gone all out and got knocked out, but he went all out and he put on a great fight, he would still be considered one of the top guys in the division, and they would probably feed him 1 or 2 other fighters to build himself back up, and then he would get another title shot. I guarantee you, he could go on a 5 or 6 fight win streak now. He's not getting another title shot so long as Woodley is the champion because he put on such a shit performance. And I watched that fight just thinking he really didn't do himself any favors because he was just too scared to get knocked out. And in WWE, you see the same thing. A guy like James Ellsworth, who was supposed to be a one-off, who gets destroyed by Braun Strowman. And I realize that his look played a part in it because he's such a interesting looking guy.
His line did too, though. He came up with that.
It did, but not only that, just like the facial expressions, like he took advantage of that 2 minutes of camera time that he had and he turned it into a contract. That's a perfect example of what to do. And so I wanted to talk about the Wonderboy Thompson fight because I just thought he put on such a shit performance. I would not, like I said, I wouldn't give him another title. I don't care if he goes out and knocks out his next 5 opponents in a row. I wouldn't give him a title shot after that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Hey, you're talking to a guy who 2 years ago wasn't in podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the best. Somebody gave me an opportunity. I made the best of it. Stephen Thompson did not make the best of his opportunity. You hear it all the time. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
Mm-hmm.
Make the best out of your opportunity. The first fight, the majority of media had the fight scored a draw, but more media had the first fight scored for Woodley than Thompson. The fans had it about 21% Woodley, 21% Thompson, 57% a draw. I'm rounding these up if that math doesn't make sense, guys. This fight, most media had it for Thompson winning. Well, actually, most media had it as a draw again, but they leaned Thompson over Woodley. 63% of fans thought that Thompson won to 15.1% for Woodley. So you got to feel for the guy, but he didn't do anything.
No.
And I've had this conversation, Jimmy, with Joe, who knows his stuff as it pertains to officiating. I've had this conversation with Kentucky State Athletic Commission folks. Like, if nothing happens in a round, why not do 10-10? Like, you mean to tell me if me and you have a fight, Jimmy, and we stare at each other for 5 minutes, one of us has to win 10-9? BS. No, you don't.
Yeah. It was shit. And on a side note, I want to talk about Bruce Buffer. And again, to those unfamiliar, he is the ring announcer for UFC, and he is the I think half brother of Michael Buffer, who is the Let's Get Ready to Rumble guy. Bruce Buffer, I think, needs a little bit of an education on how to correctly announce the outcome of a fight. I don't know if you caught. Do you know what I'm talking about? So when he was announcing the scores of this fight, because it went to the judges, and there's 3 judges, so he said that the first one went to Woodley, then he said the second one was a draw. That means that everything's hanging on the third one. For the third one, he goes for the winner. Like right away, he's like for the winner, but he had already said Woodley as the first one, meaning that there was no drama left as soon as he said that. And I was watching that, and I was specifically looking at Wonderboy as soon as he said for the winner. And Wonderboy was still standing there looking to the ground, kind of dumbfounded as to who won.
Yeah.
And I just thought, well, there goes all the drama in that. He should never have announced Woodley's name first because he gave away the ending by doing that.
Well, needless to say, that scorecard situation in both fights were wildly uncommon.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I hope they never fight again.
But I mean, you know what gave Tyron Woodley the edge in the end, right?
What's that? Oh, I
He
know.
went to Fightful.com and he clicked that on it link. Yeah, he said it in his post-fight speech. They said, how'd you feel? He said, I felt better in this camp than any of them.
Mhm.
And he said, quote, I've been taking my On-It supplements. That means he's been taking his Alpha Brain. You know, I'm not the only guy that works like 60 hours a week. Tyron Woodley puts in the work too. He's got people filming Champ Camp all the time, so he's got to be happy. He takes that new mood to make sure his sleep cycle's good. He takes that T+. I got some on the way. I have talked my wife into letting me turn our formal living room that we don't use into a home gym.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's so pissed. She's so pissed.
Are you going to get those Gorilla kettlebells? Because I've seen those.
Yeah, I probably will. I'll see if Anna will hook me up, but I'll probably get them anyway. I mean, I've got heavy bags and ellipticals and treadmills. I've been very smart with my money in the past to where I have accumulated some nice stuff. Plus, I live in the cheapest place in the world. I live in Kentucky, not cheapest place in the world. I mean, Jamaica is cheaper, but I ain't moving to Jamaica.
I was going to say Ethiopia, the cost of living is probably lower than it is in Kentucky.
Yeah. But, yeah, she's just silently unhappy, but she's going to be happy when those On-It supplements come in. I'm going to feed her that new mood. She's going to be like, you know what? This is a good idea.
And then you're going to tell me one day, guess what, Jimmy? I'm having a baby after all. Because
no,
my wife is taking On-It in the mood or whatever the hell it's called.
New mood.
New mood.
New mood.
New mood. New mood.
Don't bury the product.
I guess I got wrong on that one. New mood.
We'll have a new way for you all to support us via On-It soon, because I know they're changing up some of their referral situations. So that's a Lindsay situation. Lindsay's the mastermind behind that type of stuff.
She's working on it all, man. Yep, she's good. She's working on it all.
She's a genius. Lindsay is wonderful. International Women's Day today as we film this.
I saw you posting about it. I saw Anna was just having a love fest for Fightful. That's all good.
Yeah. So obviously, thank you to all the great women that work with us. Like Danielle, Anna, Melissa, Lindsay, and of course Trina, who did some work with us before too. We got Owens versus Lesnar this Saturday at MSG. We're gonna have some footage of that.
I still have things left on my list, but we can talk about.
Oh damn! Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, let's talk about the Owens thing first. So that's a live event. Owens and Lesnar.
MSG. Yep.
Oh yeah,
eventing.
That's the SmackDown show, right? But they're bringing them onto the SmackDown show.
No, I think SmackDown's doing Barclays. I could be wrong.
Oh, I thought it was a SmackDown show, but they're bringing those guys in because Cena's on the card, isn't he?
Yeah, it might be. I'll check it out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out.
I think it is. Oh, good for Brock. They actually aired a live event to add on Toronto television on Monday night for a Detroit house show. I believe it's on March 13th, or not a house show. I think it's a Raw taping on March 13th, and they said that Brock's going to be there as well. Also,
yeah, you're right. It is a SmackDown show, which also has John Cena versus Bray Wyatt, Ambrose versus Corbin versus Miz, and Luke Harper versus Randy Orton. That sounds like a fun show. Apollo Crews, Ziggler, and American Alpha, Usos, and you got some other stuff. But that's a top-heavy show. That sounds like a good time.
MSG is a good time. Yeah, it's a good time. I have not been to a live event at MSG. It's on my list for sure.
I will go. Demon Diva, a friend on Twitter, is going to be sending us some footage of that. She hits up a lot of those shows, but
isn't Carlos in New York too?
Carlos is in New Jersey.
I mean, close enough. You should tell Carlos to go.
But he covers a lot of the boxing at the Barclays Center. Barclays Center and boxing promotions very good to Fightful.com. They love having us there.
Well, they might not after I talk about a boxing story in a minute. But first, I want to talk about Rusev for a minute.
Filipino Heat.
You know what? After what happened to him on Monday, and on Sunday for that matter. Well, yeah,
was he even on Monday?
Maybe I'm thinking about Sunday. He is due for a reset, and I really think that they need to showcase his personality. Rusev, if you've never seen some of the videos that he's done, like when he's done up, up, down, down with Xavier Woods, he did a thing with Lana when they were reading Dr. Zeus books. He's done some stuff on the WWE Network. Rusev is actually very likable, very personable, very funny. Why can't they showcase that? It's because you and I have talked before about how the biggest stars typically are the same people with the volume turned up. And George the Animal Steel was an obvious exception to that. But Rusev is a funny, likable guy. Like if they showcase that personality, because he's got talent And if they showcase that personality, they could have something with him. I think they need to reset him and actually let him be more like himself.
That's why I brought up the Europino heat thing. Like, I know it sounds like I'm saying this in jest. Rusev can pull that off.
Oh, 100% he could. 100% he could.
And the fans want to like Lana.
Yeah.
They want to like her. And like I said, if she is Eddie Guerrero's China to Rusev, sure, why not? Otherwise, if they want to keep down the dominant path, which doesn't exist, if they want to keep him as is, you got to draft him to SmackDown because that is the ultimate fresh start. Now, we haven't necessarily seen that. Sometimes we saw it short term with Jack Swagger, who a few months later asked out of his contract.
Yeah.
But that guy's going to get offered 50 to 75K to fight for World Series of Fighting or Bellator if he wants it.
Yeah. Best of luck to Jack Swagger. I don't know, man. MMA says
he's gonna get bookings.
Oh, I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. But I mean, we talked before. MMA is a tough racket. It's a tough racket. Best of luck to him.
Hey, I mean, he's gonna get paid 50 to 75K to fight some scrub.
Yeah.
And he'll out wrestle them, grind them out, maybe pound them out.
Yeah, maybe. One more thing on my list, although I also have a quote on here. You know, when we were talking last week about the stupid nicknames that they give people? And I found myself, I couldn't help but pay attention now when Michael Cole, because Michael Cole annoys me. He's like the ultimate corporate shill, that guy. And he said one thing at one point. It was after the Brock Lesnar segment with Goldberg. And Michael Cole said, switching gears from the beast incarnate to the monster among men, because he was then shifting to a Braun Strowman segment. And I just heard that going, how do they think that sounds good? It's so stupid. It's you look at Mick Foley when he was on commentary and him and Vince butted heads and he ended up getting off commentary. I swear, man, I don't care what they're paying me. If I'm on commentary and Vince is on the headset saying, okay, I want you to say switching gears from the beast incarnate to the monster among men. Fuck that. I am not saying that. It's stupid. I don't know why they do it.
Well, Jimmy, needless to say, he's not up there with your boy as it pertains to segues. But let me tell you guys, you can be up there with your boy.
You found a way. You found a way.
One of these pro wrestling tees. Head over to prowrestlingtees.com/Sean Ross Sapp. Buy your boy shirt. I had to order like 10 shirts the other day because I have people that are coming down and they're stopping. I'm not going to Mania.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover here. So they're stopping here on their way from the Northeast. And I was like, yeah, I'll just give them to you. Not a big deal.
I was actually checking the sales numbers this morning and I thought, holy shit, look at all the shirts we're selling. And then I looked at where they're being sent and I was like, Sean Ross Sapp.
To me, yeah.
Like his own shirts.
Well, I mean, they were like, hey, we want to order these shirts, but they're from Canada. These people are from Canada. They didn't want to pay the shipping.
Really?
So
where are they in Canada?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Oh, so you're very close friends then, obviously.
Like, what? Am I visiting them in whatever Canadian city? I haven't even visited you, and I work for you.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen when we hit our goal. We've talked about it.
Yeah, but they're driving down, and I was like, you know what? I'll spare you the shipping. I'll have it sent to me. They're going to pick them up. So we got some of that going on, too. But head over to prowrestlingtees.com/Sean Ross Sapp. Buy your boy shirt and a Fightful shirt.
Oh, thank you for plugging the Fightful shirt in the middle of your spiel for your own shirt. Appreciate that.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm about to pull that from my store because I would imagine we'll have one up on the Fightful store.
We will soon. I might put yours up there too if you ask me nicely.
Nah, maybe.
Might do it. Okay,
I should get another design.
What's that?
But I got to 5,000 followers now, so I have to follow up on that or follow through on that. Sending a random follower autographed used nail clippers.
Are you kidding?
70 people liked the tweet to enter the contest.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh man.
No.
That's like you might as well send a lock to your hair while you're at it too. Put a nice little ribbon around it. Put it in a little box. Send that to them too.
Ooh, that's a good contest. A lock of Matt Riddle or Elias Theodorou's hair.
That could work. You know what? That could work.
You could use that for a multitude of things. You could clone them.
You could.
Eventually.
You could.
You want some good genetics. Hey, those Riddle genetics. Might want a lock of his kid's hair because I don't know if y'all have seen his wife. His wife is a freak of nature as well. She's a former gymnast. Actually, I think she's a current gymnast.
She does CrossFit too, I think, right?
Yeah, the genetics in that family.
Yep.
Dang, man.
Yep, it's true.
Dang. And we actually have friends, Matt and I do, which is weird because we didn't know they knew each other. There's a brother and there's a sister. I won't give away their first name, but their last name is Sargent. The girl
Her last name is Sargent?
Yes.
Okay.
The girl is a fitness machine, fitness model. She appeared on Stone Cold Steve Austin's Broken Skull Ranch and did the Skullbuster Challenge, beat it. The brother looks exactly like Matthew McConaughey and is an undefeated pro MMA fighter. And I'm like, where did I get left out in this genetic situation? Like, this isn't fair.
But the good news is I didn't bring him into Fightful. I brought you into Fightful.
That's true.
Some things work out.
Well, he can't carry a podcast like me.
See? So even though you're genetically inferior to him, you still have your strengths, you know?
That remains to be seen. That remains to be seen. I might be able to, I was going to say I might be able to do a better McConaughey impersonation, but he sounds just like him too, which leads me to believe that voice has more to do with facial structure than anything.
Okay, I got to hear your McConaughey impersonation.
Nah, I'm good.
Got to hear it. Got to hear it.
You guys got to pay for that. Maybe I'll do that on that show that I'm going to do for registered members of Fightful.com only.
Okay.
You know, we give you all the Matt Riddle and Shane Helms show early before anybody else has access to it, but I'm thinking about doing maybe a bi-weekly show about anything. I've heard some of you say like an anything but fighting podcast. That could be interesting. But really, I'll do it about whatever you all want. Whatever gets you all to sign up for free. No credit card required at Fightful.com.
Are we going to need standards and practices to review that before it goes up?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
As long as you don't fire me, I'm cool.
If I do fire you, what am I going to do then? Alex, I have a great news for you, bud. That's basically what would happen.
Well, good luck. Good luck having somebody that directs the MMA traffic. Good luck.
Ariel Helwani, what are you doing next week?
Well, he's under contract for 232 years.
And something tells me he ain't cheap. Call it a hunch.
Oh, no. Are you saying that I'm cheap?
No, it's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you are more cost effective because
I was gonna say
when you look
when
you look at all the hours you put in a week and when you divide it by your massive contract, it still works out for me based on the number of hours that you do. That's how I look at it. More cost effective.
I'll say this: I'm pretty happy with what I make here, considering and being where I am makes it fine for me. I mean, I have flat out turned down money from you before.
Well, wait until the traffic grows, man. When we start getting sponsors, we'll talk about that. I might give you
But when we were talking about ads and stuff, I was like, I don't want any extra money. I think you all are good to me. Hey, a lot of people don't know this. Jimmy Van, after maybe a month of knowing me, month or two knowing me, messaged me on Skype one day. And this is the kind of guy Jimmy Van is. He said, do you have a photo booth for your wedding? I said, no, we were thinking about it. It wasn't in the budget. He said, go get one. I'll pay for it. Next thing I know, he had PayPal'd me the balance of it. That's what kind of boss I have at Fightful.com.
And you know why I did that? The reason I did that is because I have been to weddings that did not have a photo booth. And let's be honest, weddings can be a drag because you got to get there in the morning and you're there until like midnight or whatever it is. It can be a drag. So I found weddings with a photo booth made it more fun. And when you said, no, I don't think there's going to be one, I was like, screw it, you're getting one because you're going to like it. So
I appreciated that. I almost screwed my own wedding reception up. You want to know why?
What?
The DJ is a friend of mine, great DJ. I said, man, I don't want the cha-cha slide played. I don't want the Cupid shuffle played. I don't want any of that trash played. And the dance floor was empty until I said, okay, go ahead and do it. And he played them back to back to back, and people went crazy.
I thought you were going to say that they played John Cena's entrance music.
No, they played Bobby Roode's when we walked out. That was a nice surprise.
I actually had pomp and circumstance for my entrance at my wedding.
Did you toss your cap and gown up in the air afterwards?
Well, no, it was Randy Savage based. It wasn't based on a college thing. But we had it where I came out to that, and then my wife came out to Man Eater and kind of shot me down on the dance floor. That's what we did.
The Nelly Furtado song?
No, it's the old one from like the 80s.
Oh, gosh, come on. Nelly Furtado is a talent.
She's Canadian too, man, because we are taking over.
Is she?
Yeah, she is.
Well, I don't think she's taken over these days. But
yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
She was a personal favorite of mine. She was pretty good. Pretty good.
One more thing on my list. I want to talk about boxing for a minute. And I want to talk about one reason why there are big problems in boxing, and there have been for many, many years. And again, for those of you who are big wrestling fans and you're unfamiliar with boxing or MMA, boxing financially has struggled in recent years, with the exception of the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight, which did phenomenal. Canelo Alvarez is okay. But in terms of draws, they don't really have anything major going on, and they haven't outside of Mayweather and Pacquiao in probably 10 years. Oscar De La Hoya, who you guys are probably familiar with, he's a promoter now. He's a former boxer. He was interviewed by ESPN about a potential Mayweather-McGregor boxing fight, and his response was, it would be an embarrassment for boxing. And that, to me, right there is one of the problems with boxing. Is a lot of promoters, they're too hung up on the purity of boxing, and they're too hung up on the legacy, and they're too hung up on tradition, and they don't realize what it takes to actually draw box office. And Mayweather and McGregor would draw box office. And so when I read that interview, I thought, well, there's your problem. I mean, you guys are so hung up on that stuff. He should embrace it. And if anything, he should try to grab McGregor and promote McGregor, since Mayweather is going to have his own promotion. He should try to grab McGregor and try to make that fight happen, but instead he thinks it's an embarrassment for boxing. That's your problem.
It's on boxing to do this. They've got to put fights that should be big fights on network TV now.
Well, I mean, they've tried it. Yeah, they've tried it with like lower level stuff, and they've lost a shitload of money. But,
well, I mean, they put Deontay Wilder on there the other day. Deontay Wilder should be a huge star.
Right.
I know who Deontay Wilder is. Here's the thing. You look at who boxing has right now, there's no reason for these guys to not be big stars. Klitschko, Fury, Wilder, Joshua, Triple G, Pacquiao even, Broner, Ward, Kovalev, Roman Gonzalez, Terrence Crawford, Lomachenko. There are a lot of guys.
There's a lot of personality. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, there's no reason that they shouldn't have a marquee fight every 2 months. There's no reason, but they don't.
No.
And we run these live viewing coverage, and crickets, and it ain't because of the site, you guys. It's because of boxing.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I mean, aside from them being too concerned with tradition and with legacy, obviously there's been a long time problem with promoters because they want to protect their own fighters. And so they don't want to give the best fights because they're concerned their guy's going to lose. So, for example, if Bob Arum is promoting and he's got a big fighter and Oscar De La Hoya has a big fighter, they won't necessarily put that fight together, even if it's a big money fight, because they both don't want their guy to lose. They'd rather have them fight somebody else under their contract. That's another long-time issue with boxing, but I just thought the De La Hoya interview was so indicative of the problem. And he had even said in another interview that 2016 was one of the worst financial years in boxing history. And yet you're telling me you wouldn't want to jump all over a McGregor fight if you could? I mean, they have a lot to learn.
I mean, there's a reason why Holly Holm wants to compete in the UFC instead of remaining a boxer.
Yeah, even though she needs to let that fight go. I wish she would just move on already.
I wish everybody would.
Yeah, but you're right. That's it for my list, man. So you can take over for like the last 15 minutes.
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
Why am I here? Why am I even here? Interviewed Jim Ross. It was very fun. Very good.
Now, you said you've got a bunch of news coming out of that. Do you want to share anything interesting?
Yeah, like 6 stories. He told me that he was not approached by Impact Wrestling about the angle that involved him verbally. And he said he didn't mind. He said that Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews, he likes both of those guys. And if it helps further an angle on Impact Wrestling, then so be it. And he gave them a nod. They ran a graphic for his one-man show during the tapings. And he said maybe that was the reason they did it. So that was positive. He also talked about his discussions with Josh Barnett before he went to TNA Wrestling for these last set of tapings. Thought it was a great idea. Talked about the New Japan tournament, Access's commentary policies for him. Really opened up about Kenny Omega, what he does and doesn't like about Kenny Omega, which is good because he's not just talking sugar about these guys. It's really good stuff. And I love New Japan on Access. It gives American fans no excuse to not at least check out New Japan. Because you've got American commentary. You've got a guy who you're familiar with in Jim Ross. You see American talent or North American talent on the show. Got a lot of good stuff out of Jim Ross on that one. Also, these Impact tapings this weekend. I had a giant update Monday on Fightful.com. Head over to the exclusive section, guys. Check that out. What do you think about the new direction of Impact Wrestling? Because I know you've been negative on them in discussions we've had.
So I guess I should make this clear too, because I've gotten a few messages. I am not a hater of, I guess I can't call it TNA anymore. I'm not a hater of Impact Wrestling. I want Impact Wrestling to thrive, because if Impact Wrestling goes out, if they go to business, that's one less place for all these people to work. So I want it to thrive. It's good. It's good for the business. It's good for Fightful. I don't want them to die.
If they're doing 10.0 ratings, then we're racing our gold speedboats across the Atlantic Ocean right now.
Is that what you want to do? If you get a bunch of money, you want to?
I hate open water. I hate open water. So no.
Have you ever been on a jet ski before? Have I asked you this before? Have you ever been on a jet ski?
I may have been. I think I may have been.
So when we hit our goal, I'm going to take you out to my cottage in the summertime. I have a cottage on the St. Lawrence River in Canada, and I'll take you out there on a jet ski, because I think that would be awesome.
That would be neat. I'm supposed to take, I think this summer, I'm taking the wife to Orlando or something for a few days. We've got some sort of tentative vacation planning there. But my thing is, I don't like to vacation that long.
Yeah, and that was supposed to happen like last year, right?
You're supposed to for our honeymoon, but I was like, okay, the site just launched, and she was okay with it.
Right.
So
I will say this about going back to Impact Wrestling. The only issue I have with Impact Wrestling, aside from the fact that I still believe that Jeff Jarrett is taking the owners for a ride. I believe that he saw an opportunity to make money and to run the show and not have any financial risk. The fact that he's got Global Force Wrestling's tag titles on the show is a joke. I'm not a big fan of Jarrett's involvement yet. I mean, obviously, if they come through with the spike talks that they're talking about, then I will eat my words and say that it was a great pickup. Right now, I don't think Jarrett. I just don't think he's done a lot in the last several years in wrestling. My biggest issue with Impact Wrestling is that they remind me of a glorified independent promotion. Because, when a big indie promotion will bring in a guy like Bruce Pritchard because of his podcast viewership, like that's what an independent would do. Or they would bring in a guy like Alberto Del Rio and put him in the main event of their show. Independents do that in order to draw fans to their show. And Impact Wrestling, in my opinion, pulled those same kinds of moves, those same kinds of independent wrestling moves at their tapings. That was my biggest issue with it. I understand that Bruce Pritchard has a decent podcast viewership or listenership, but I thought it made them look really indie by having him come on, and they even put the name of his podcast on the video screen when he was coming out. Mm-hmm. That to me looked very indie. Putting Alberto immediately into the title picture looked really indie. So I had issues with that kind of stuff, but otherwise, again, they were going nowhere with the previous regime. I also wasn't a big fan of having Dutch Mantel kind of pretend to be Zeb Coulter with the same look and all that crap. But otherwise,
what's he gonna do? Shave his face?
No, but I mean,
learn to walk again.
At least don't put the vest on him, right? Don't put the vest on him.
He wears that. He wears that all the time.
But Zeb Coulter as a character is known for that look. And didn't he also say "We the People" or something at the taping? Like I
don't know.
Like they should stay away from that.
I bet he said something like "We the People of TNA."
I think he said something.
Oh Jesus!
So they should stay away from that. But otherwise, they weren't going anywhere with the previous regime. So change is good. I mean, I embrace the change. And again, I don't want Impact to die. I want Impact to survive. I just don't like it when I feel like either they're pretending to be an independent or they are an independent trying to be something bigger. And when I think that the ownership is being taken for the ride, which I kind of think they are.
I think that changing the name to Impact is a great idea.
I agree.
Get rid of TNA. I think that bringing in Pritchard is a good idea because it's not like Snooki, who has no ring experience, no experience in wrestling.
Sure.
He knows how to perform on camera, and his show right now is doing 2 or 3 times the audience that TNA is. So if you can grab a few of them. They lost Matt, Jeff, Rebby, Maxwell, and Drew Galloway. Maxwell, who is worth more than a lot of the talent they have.
Oh, come on.
He is. How many GIFs of Aiden O'Shea have you seen over the past year?
So you're basically saying that Maxwell is a more valuable wrestling talent than Aiden O'Shea?
Absolutely. Definitely.
I want this clip. I want you to put this clip on Twitter. And I want if Aiden O'Shea is on Twitter, I want you to copy him on it. I want you to tag him.
It's no disrespect to Aiden O'Shea. Maxwell's a phenomenon.
He's a phenomenon. Okay.
He's special. You know what? Maxwell's a hell of a lot more valuable than me. If you ran a Maxwell Hardy podcast, it probably does more numbers than me.
Oh, I'm sure it would, because you would have a lot to say, and your guest host wouldn't have to carry it at all. That'd be fantastic. I mean, my kid is about the same age as Maxwell. My kid is really good at saying potty and pee-pee and poo-poo and yummy treat. So that would be your podcast.
Hey. I will say with the guys they lost, they did a really good job at redistributing the money, and they brought in like a ton of people. They got the LAX thing back. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. And honestly, like I don't know what the Hardys were getting paid, but I'm sure they were getting paid a decent amount. Yeah, I'm sure they were. They weren't really, I don't think they were really having a major impact on their numbers. I know that the first Alicia did well, but the other stuff they did afterwards didn't. So it's almost like a lot of the casual wrestling fans, you know, they were interested to check out the first one. A lot of them probably thought it was stupid because it was. And then they didn't tune in for the ones afterwards. So I questioned the value that the Hardys really had to their numbers.
Yeah, if we see their numbers and they're in the 100,000s, then yeah, they had a measurable degree of success towards those numbers. But I don't know if they're going to drop any lower. But
no.
Man, 200 and some thousand. And there was a report, Spike TV denied that Scott Fishman and Jeff Jarrett talked about Spike. They did, guys. Yeah. They did. Regardless of what Spike's saying and regardless of whatever the reporter that said that says, they did talk about it. I was told about that. Just because Spike denies it, and Ryan Satin, a Pro Wrestling Sheet, reported it, and the other guy came out and said, this report is incorrect. No, it wasn't. If you are that dumb to believe that Jeff Jarrett didn't mention something to him, that's a discussion, guys. That's a talk.
And again, if Jarrett was able to get them back on Spike, then man, he would definitely have proven his worth on that. But what is the value to Spike? You have a property. What was their max with? What was their peak? Was it like 1.5 or 2 million viewers, something like that?
It was about 1.5 million. But that back then, I mean, those are good numbers for Spike TV.
Of course, those are good numbers for just about any network now. I mean, WWE does what, 3 most weeks, 3.5, and that's considered good in this day and age.
Hey, that's why I break down the YouTube numbers every Tuesday and Wednesday from Raw the night before, SmackDown the night before. I think that's a better metric of who is watching what on a show, because people are going out of their way to watch these segments.
Right, but do you think that what kind of value would there be for Spike to bring back TNA with its current viewership, even though, granted, as soon as they're on TNA, the number is going to go up because there's more eyeballs. But what is the value in bringing that back and paying rights fees to Impact, given their current popularity? I mean, I just don't see value. If anything, if I was Jarrett and if Spike said, look, we'll bring you back on a barter deal, like for the first year, I would jump all over that if I was Impact.
I would too. And their thing is they want to get their program on something that has HD coverage everywhere, is what I'm told.
Right.
And obviously more viewers. And they want to get a paying deal. Now, here's the issue. Here's not an issue. Name a show on Spike right now besides Bellator or Cops.
I do not watch it. I can't. Honestly, whenever Bellator comes on and I decide to watch Bellator, I have to look up what channel Bellator is on my cable package, or what channel Spike is on my cable package, because I remember watch Spike.
Back in the day, I used to be all on it, man. The MXC, Slam Ball, Pros versus Joes, the Joe Schmo show, even the Ultimate Fighter or WWE, World's Wildest Police videos. They had a lot of. They really hammered that 18 to 34 male demographic, and since then they lightened it up, and it just wasn't what it once was. And now they're rebranding into Paramount, and even though people in Bellator have been told, yeah, you're going to be a part of our network, some of the people I've talked to were still a little concerned. That could change.
I wouldn't be concerned at all because they own it.
Viacom owns it.
Yeah, yes. Viacom owns it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one thing if you're Impact. Let's say Impact Wrestling was on Spike and they rebranded. I'd be concerned if I was Impact. I wouldn't be concerned if I was Bellator. They've got too much invested into Bellator. They're not going to scrap it. They're not.
I don't think they're going to scrap it. I just thought there were some people who said to me they were worried about the future of Bellator. Like, what if they try to encourage Bellator to run different nights, which I don't think running Saturday nights is a bad idea, but Friday seems to be a real nice spot for Bellator. They've established that as their night.
Yeah, but at the same time, UFC has shown when they don't have a good fight main eventing a card, even on free television, their ratings are not great in the UFC. Yeah. So I think that if you take one of the fights that Bellator puts on, like with a Rory McDonald or Rampage Jackson, put that on a Saturday, they could do well, I think.
Wonder how out of shape Rampage is going to be for this King Mo fight.
I've heard he's big. I heard what he said about John Jones and Ronda Rousey. That guy's something else.
Hey, guys, we have an exclusive interview with Rampage Jackson coming to Fightful.com in the coming weeks before that fight. Jimmy, anything you want to get out to the people before we go?
Not really, man. Not really. Things are chugging along. We're doing our thing. I honestly have nothing for you today. This was kind of like a quick thing to put together because I'm busy on our usual day this week, and I had to rush my list together, man. Usually I have time for my list, and I had to rush the list today. But I got it done for you. No, otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and we're gonna keep doing our thing.
So Joe, who hosts a show every day, is gone this week.
Yeah, and boy, does that guy like to post on Twitter. I'm going to have to chirp him a little bit for how much he loves to post on social media. All the Mayan Riviera and all that stuff he's doing.
And then the Monday co-host, Robin Black, he's gone. Tuesday co-host, Elias Theodoru, out of town. Wednesday co-host, Jimmy Van, has stuff to do. Thursday co-host, Matt Riddle, had to move to Friday. So I had to move Friday co-host, Shane Helms, to Thursday. I'm going to be stoked when this week is over.
What about Sean Pearson? Is he still in?
I hope so. I got to message him tonight.
Yeah, you should, because he's supposed to be Wednesday night. And again, people that don't like MMA, you might want to check out Sean Pearson's podcast, just because he doesn't give a shit.
I sure hope he is. I'm giving up one of my evenings off to do a show with him, so I hope he doesn't stand me up.
What do you typically do on your evenings off aside from play with your 6 cats? What else do you do?
I very rarely play with my 6 cats.
You told me you do. You said that you have balls with rattles in them, and you told me.
I don't toss them around. They play soccer by themselves. Usually I just spend some time with the wife. We go out and eat, or we go watch a movie. I want to go see that Get Out movie.
I heard it's good.
Yeah. I think tomorrow evening before the podcast, I have a friend that's coming in from Indiana. She had a son recently, so we're going to see her son for the first time.
So the person from Indiana that's coming is not Vince Russo. Is he in Indiana now? Has he moved?
Yeah, he's moved.
Oh, so he's there now.
Yeah, we were talking about Indianapolis the other day. I told him he's got to visit. He's never been.
How far is Indiana? How far is he from you?
3 hours.
Have you guys ever met in person?
No.
Oh, dude, you got to hook that up. If you guys met halfway, an hour and a half, no problem. You got to hook that up. You think
Vince Russo is going to travel halfway to meet me?
Yeah, I think he might. I mean, what else does he have to do?
I think, as is tradition, you have unrealistic expectations as it pertains to Vince Russo.
Maybe. I mean, I got to tell you, man, the first time I ever talked to him, right? And obviously the first question that Vince asks is how much, because you know Vince. The second question that Vince asked me is who will I be working with? And when I said Ross Sapp, he put you over. He did.
He should.
He did.
He should. I'm great.
And I mean, and not narcissistic at all.
I mean, I got guys like Bill Apter and Vince Russo putting me over. Do you know how many people I have that will be like, you're not professional enough? And I'm like, where's the fun in not being colorful, not being fun? You know what? Taking things way too literally. I hate that.
This is actually one of the things that I don't like about Charlie Caruso. Is that as intelligent as she obviously is and as well-spoken as she is, I find her if there's such a thing as being too polished and too professional, I find that she is too polished to be a raw backstage interviewer. Mm-hmm. I think she belongs on ESPN. And you look at Renee Young, and Renee Young was somebody that ESPN has courted and they've tried to go after. She understands that there's a balance. She can be professional, but she can also be funny, and she can also, kind of almost shoot the shit with the talent on the air kind of thing. Charlie Caruso's way too professional. I think that you're good just the way you are, man.
Hey, I like it.
Just stop responding to negative criticism. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. You're feeding the hate, man. Stop doing it.
I embrace the hate. Sometimes you got to let them know, hey, guys, if you see somebody acting completely foolish, ridiculous, saying ignorant stuff on Twitter, quote the tweet and use the hashtag #RealPeopleThatExist, and we will eviscerate them on a future podcast. I guess that's it. Follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. I'm past 5,000. I got to get those nail clippers ready.
How are you going to package those up? Are you just going to like throw them in an envelope?
I might buy a new set and just sign the outside.
I mean, that's sweet of you to do that. It's not as fun, but that's nice.
We're out, guys.